Okay.
Right. Okay. Many apologies, Clive and Nigel. Great to see you both. Couldn't believe it was literally 4 minutes to 1 that we had a power cut. We hardly ever have them here, so mega stress and embarrassment. But anyway, welcome. Nice to see you both. Over to you, Clive.
Okay, so I think you can see this quote from Mark Twain on the screen. And the reason I'm using a quote from Mark Twain is that when I was little, my mum always used to say, we've got two famous ancestors. One is David Livingstone, the other is Mark Twain, and that's because her maiden name was Clemens. And I just wanted to read this one out. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbour and catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream. So that quote from Mark Twain. Now, so one of the things I want to say was that my natural inclination is always to prepare meticulously for everything, even if it's being done in my head, and control my environment. But a number of years ago, we were challenged on a workshop of about 40 of us to do something that was scary. And I decided I'd tell, it's on a weekend retreat, I decided that I'd tell a bedtime story to everybody and make it up. And within about half an hour, I'd made up the story I was going to tell them. And I thought, well, that's not scary. So what I did was, and that's what I'm doing now, is I decided to just pick a few things. And as far as the bedtime story is concerned, I actually asked them to pick some things. I asked them to pick some things in the room, a big room in an old stately home, and some people off the pictures maybe, and give me some characters. And then I crafted the bedtime story. And it actually worked really well. And at the end, the feedback from one person was absolutely on the edge of their seat, because someone had given me a beginning, someone had given me the end, and then I had a collection of characters and things, and they said they were in awe of how I managed to navigate myself towards the end, and it all made sense, and miraculously it was a story. Anyway, so I haven't prepared much, but what I really want to say, and this was actually quite useful thinking about this, trying not to prepare it too much. So I feel like I'm in a really nice position because I'm running a foundation and two charities, the Canopy Foundation and Canopy and Education Saves Lives, which is something I've always wanted to do something that makes a difference in the world. And I'm on a good salary, working in London, which I'm really enjoying. And within the next year, I can retire, and I could go back to my lovely house in Warwick and do the Telegraph crossword every day, and sort of job done. I could be very happy, walk up and down the Grand Union, maybe get a dog or something like that. However,
I can see which way this is going.
It's sort of not heading that way. So I've sort of done a number of things, but Nigel just asked me if I've got a plan and a time frame, and I haven't. I'm trying really hard not to. The trouble is that things keep happening that are making the next piece of my life look like a little bit of a chaotic mess, but gloriously fun. So I've bought, and that's what I'm sitting on, an ocean-going yacht, which is capable of sailing around the world, and I'm living on here in central London. And my plan is at some point in the next year or two to take her off and go long distance sailing. I've taken up clubbing in a major way. I've never done this all my life, but about 7 months ago, I decided that I wanted to find out what my partner's world was like. and they work in the clubbing world, and so I went along, had a go, and I am totally and utterly hooked, to the extent that I am going I'm doing clubbing dance lessons, which everyone finds hilarious, but I think it's brilliant, because you're learning how to do things, even though club dancing isn't, there's no formal way of dancing. You can do anything you like, but all that club dancing, I think, gives me is things to do with your feet, your body, your shoulders, your head, your hands, and then you can feel much freer to do whatever you like. So last weekend I went on Friday and Saturday night, and on Friday night I was right down the front, in front of a young DJ who had a brilliant set, and I really enjoyed the whole thing, dancing with the people around me, and then went and had a break, at which point there was a tap on my shoulder, and I turned around and the DJ was standing there, gave me a great big hug and said, "You are the greatest person to have in front of me when I'm doing that, because you are so enthusiastic and you dance brilliantly, and you got everyone around you going as well," because I was dancing with a group of girls and a group of guys, and it was fantastic. And then
you are the greatest person to have in front of me, not to mention the oldest person to have in front of me.
Well, yes, that is a point. So I there's nobody my age, and a lot of people do come up and say hello, and do give me a thumbs up. I get lots of patronizing pats on the head and shoulders. But tonight I'm going to see a DJ. I'm going to a club with one or two of my dance class friends, and the DJ is a much older DJ, and apparently very famous, and there's likely to be more older people there, so that'll be interesting. I'm also going clubbing tomorrow night, and I didn't really mean to end up doing 2 nights, but I enjoy it so much. I'm also next Tuesday, and this is to explore something that my partner's also really interested in, and I have never ever been interested in my entire life. I am going to see Leeds versus Fulham at Fulham. I'm going to a live football match. Yes. Now there's one slight hitch here, and that is that we could only get tickets in the Fulham end, and my partner's a Leeds supporter. So we have got to pretend that we're not Leeds supporters.
I've been there, done it at Aston Villa. I was in the Holt end, which was the home end when I went to watch Southampton, and then at Highbury with my brother, we ended up in the Arsenal end when we went to support Southampton. So yeah.
You live to tell the tale.
So anyway, I think when we were talking about how to do these things, it wasn't about necessarily talking for hours and hours. So really all I was wanting to say was that I think I'm trying to live by the quote from Mark Twain, or inspired by the quote from Mark Twain. And if I put it back on, 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbour, and catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream. So I'm trying very hard not to set up this lovely retirement that's all tidy and organised. I've bought myself the boat, and because I've not hardwired this in and got this all tidy and organised, I've suddenly bumped into, actually, I love living in London. I love living in central London. I'm having an absolute ball. I just can't bear the thought of leaving all of this and going off sailing, but at some point I'm going to. And so that's it, really. I'm just think the thing that I've learned is that my natural tendency is to tidy and organize my whole life and everything around me, and that's what I do in my working life. And that is not the most creative way to live, It can be very challenging not having it all tidy and organized, but you end up doing things that actually transform your life. And I'm quite sure that what I'm doing at the moment is doing that. And I can't see a horizon much beyond a year at the moment. So that's it.
I was thinking when you were talking that I'm not really traditionally very organized. So hanging on to sort of plans and organizations isn't so much of a problem for me. But in thinking about just responding to what you're saying, it's a little bit about letting go of the things, the conventions that hold you, whatever those conventions are, I suppose. And if I was to respond to what you say, it is very much that we're not here for very long on this earth. In fact, you know, if you take your whole life, we're not here for very long. And I remember in the last session, Clive, you said about how taking a 2-year decision at the beginning of your life is easier because you've got lots of 2 years ahead of you. Whereas taking a 2-year decision at this stage is more tricky because that's going to gobble up a reasonable proportion of the rest of what you're going to find. So make those 2 years good, I think, is what you were trying to say and have repeated today. So why this is relevant to me is that I'm in the middle of a 3 days bus driver training with this aim that I've had for 2 years. And finally, I've got on but it's sitting alongside a bus driver on their route, school bus driver on their route, morning and afternoon. And their idea in this sort of 3-day plan was to help me know if I wanted to do it or not. Well, I sort of knew in my head it was a great little job, would suit me down, but I didn't really think, right, that's something I want to do, but I'll do it if I can, kind of thing. Well, anyone who follows my TikTok stream will know I've had the best 3 days of the recent years. I've absolutely loved every minute of it. And I just thought this would be a fantastic sort of next stage income generator, getting up in the morning, spending a couple of hours driving these charming kids around, dropping off at school, going back at 4 o'clock, meeting them and listening to them tell me, for example, when they heard of my age, that, oh, vous êtes préhistorique, you know, you're prehistoric, are you? which is one of those words in English and French, you know exactly what they mean, but we wouldn't use that. And it's very amusing thinking of telling somebody they're prehistoric. It's kind of like, and then, and I'm just sort of captivated by this idea that all of these kids have got to get safely to school and I could be part of that. So anyway, just to respond to what you said, Clive, it's like feeling it's a valuable way to spend 2, 3, 4, 5 years because it also gives me time in the middle of every day, quite a lot of time actually, and all the school holidays to scheme my other projects and so on. So so I think you've been very helpful in reinforcing that thought. So thank you.
Well,
Good. You might enjoy the film. I think it's called The Grocer's Son.
We've seen it. Yeah, we've got it actually. In fact, Nigel Jeff Collar lent it to us and then left it here. So
right, did we?
yeah, yeah.
Yes, well, you remind me of that, driving around France and bumping into interesting people along the way.
Yeah.
That's basically my life now. It's just wandering around, bumping into interesting people. But I hate the word retirement, so I never use it. So I'd say I just stopped working. I stopped paid work at the age of 50 and then did a few unpaid jobs like driving vans and the like. And yeah, just happy bumping into people wherever they are. And yeah, just yesterday I met a older man in Head Records in Leamington in the Priors who has a massive vinyl collection, and we passed the time idly talking about records and age. And he left me with a quote which is a bit solitary really. He said the trouble with age is that it doesn't come alone. So get on and do what you want to do basically before age's companion catches up with you.
Yeah.
There's another thing that somebody once said, which I mean, it's not really true, but it's a kind of helpful addition to what you just said, Nigel, which is that let's just assume for the minute this is true, that to be happy you need money, health and time. It's not true, but it's kind of a bit true.
Yep.
And when you're young, you've got health and time, but you don't have any money. And when you're middle-aged, you've got health and money, but you don't have any time.
Yeah.
And if you don't sort of organize it carefully in the way that we three seem to have managed, actually, by the time you get old, you've got money and time, but you haven't got your health to do what you want with. So I just thought that, and in fact, you know, we all have triggers for changing our lives. And I mean, it's now, just last week was our 10th anniversary of coming out here to France permanently, when we set off from Britain in our car on February the 13th. And looking back on it, I now realize that was quite a thing to do, because I was only 52 or something. And we didn't, you know, we thought we might be sitting in a field with no money and no friends. We didn't have any kind of plan for survival out here. And of course, it's worked out very well. And now, you know, both of us would say we couldn't have done a better thing, really. And our kids love coming out to see us, and our life is. I don't want this to be a session where we three just congratulate each other on how great our lives are. But the point is, if you make a choice at the right time to do what you want to do, then you might miss out on all of those things that you would be disappointed by. So yeah.
Well, that is true. But you didn't mention that if you were standing in the field, at least you could put your best suit on and have the white paint all down one side, and you'd be a great scarecrow.
Yes, therein hangs a tale that we'll have to wait for another time for the listening world.
I was reading, a book on many philosophers. So it's a compilation of philosophers, and the quote I remember last night was, I don't know, people looking at your life and criticizing it, perhaps, or researching. An unexamined life is a life not worth living. So, yeah, you're examining your life, Steve. You are, Clive, and you've got to look at it and carry on. Yeah.
An unexamined life. Do you know, I've never understood that, because, in a sense, I'm not examining it. I'm just letting it happen.
Yeah.
And trying not to control it. And then I'm not sure I can examine. I've never understood, because you can't examine your life. So what are you doing? Examining your life as you lead it, or your life that you're going to have. You can examine your old life.
I think you've examined your life subconsciously and decided you're going to drift off and around the world.
Yeah, you wouldn't have made that decision unless in some state or form you'd said, I don't want to be reading the Daily Telegraph and Warwick every day. I agree with Nigel on this one. So yeah, I
never analyze anything.
Come on, I'm sure you must. You must be risk analysis.
No, I do. It's yeah, doing something without analyzing it is scary. And yeah, it's like sailing around the world. Then I've not organized it really at all, and yeah,
it'll happen.
Yeah. As Mary says every day, what have you got planned today? And I say, oh, nothing. But she knows darn well that in the back of my mind, I have quite a lot planned, but I'm not prepared to actually share that at that moment. And the day will unfold, but around a broad plan that's not set in stone.
But if you say that, don't you get given a list of jobs?
I don't get given a list of jobs.
Hang on, I want to stop the recording here. Clive, just in case, could you just remind us what you summarised at the end? You said something about how you summarise what you've learnt is, and was it about not hanging on to your plans, or how would you summarise the thing you've learnt? Just to finish off with.
Well, I need the PowerPoint.
You did it quite eloquently earlier on.
Why did you miss it?
I didn't want to put words into your mouth, but I think it was like, seize the things that you want to do and let behind you the things that you might feel you ought to do, so that you don't get disappointed in 20 years. Is that it?
It was okay. "20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbour, and catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream." That's a quote by my ancestor, Mark Twain. And so that means I'm just not trying to control and organize where I'm heading. I don't want to live in a safe harbor. I want to catch the trade winds and see where they take me and explore and dream. And I don't want to have a really tidy, organized trip around the world. And at the moment, it feels quite scary, but I think it's a creative thing to do. But the trouble is, I've done that with my whole life. So I'm also sitting thinking that I'm really enjoying living in London. I'm enjoying the clubbing. I'm enjoying my whole life at the moment. And there's a bit of me that's going, how's the sailing going to fit in? But I'm not going to worry about it. At some point, I'll retire, and at some point, I'll go off sailing.
Thank you. I've just got a last anecdote to finish with. Nigel, do you want to say anything else before we stop the recording?
Just one thing, leave you with a thought. Never prejudge or underestimate people. We all have a unique life. Listen to their story.
I couldn't agree more with that. And that's part of what this whole knowledge exchange thing is about, actually, listening to other people's stories. Speaking of which, we had our local Catholic priest call in recently. Now, we know him because he agreed to help us when my niece got married out here 6 years ago on our field here in France. And we were brought up Protestants. He's Roman Catholic. We didn't know when we knocked on his door what his response would be to using the local church. And he turned out to be an absolute dream. And he said, yeah, you can do whatever you like in that church. I'd like to be involved, but I don't have to be. And in fact, he did come along, said a little word and said a blessing. And we had a fabulous day about 6 years ago. And since then, he's popped in every so often for 10 minutes for a cup of tea or something like that as he goes by. He came in the other day and I was just doing my TikTok recording for the day. And I said to him, okay, Père Baron, have you got anything for the waiting world? And he just, off the spur of the moment, he said, picked up on what you both said really, which is live the most intensely you can the moment you're living at the moment. I mean, he was French, so it doesn't really translate quite the same, but basically it was live for the moment and forget about the rest, because it's only now that is absolutely certain. Everything else is uncertain. The past is gone, the future you can't be sure about. And I kind of like, my jaw dropped open because he didn't say, you know, don't go out there and sin, or, you know, come to church every Sunday morning or anything like that. He just said, live for the moment. And that, I think, is a good point on which to stop the recording. Thanks everybody for listening and watching. Don't miss out on our future events. On the 1st of every month, a climate change 15-minute session at 8 o'clock in the morning London time. And on the last Friday of every month, a session called, like this one, Something I've Learned from a Variety of Interesting People. Thanks for tuning in, and bye for now.
Okay, cheers. Bye, Steve. Bye, Clive.
Oh, no, hang on.